want to get your feedback about my participation in the show, so please leave comments. So stay tuned, the Real Talk Sports Show is coming up.
Bam! Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we thank God for all those of you who have decided to join us here on, first of all, if you're listening to the legendary WIGO Pacesetter 1570 on your dial, also on WIGO1570.com. Appreciate you for tuning in to check us out today. Also, for those of you who are watching on various platforms across social media, we appreciate you. I'm trying to get my camera here situated because we are doing our broadcast from the studios of Allen Vigil Ford in Lincoln. So we're trying to get our light situated here so you guys can see us better here. You know how it is when you're mobile. Sometimes your sight lines are not the best, but that's okay. Anyway, like I said again, we thank you guys for watching us, and we thank you guys for tuning in today on the broadcast. Let's go to social media. Our man Sully is already in the building. Sully, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining us here this morning. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy that we have sometimes I think we in the media are always doing something. And when I say that, I'm thinking to myself, we have the draft coming up, right? So we got all these gazillion mock drafts, which they have every single year, a bunch of these drafts that pop up. Everybody's trying to figure out who's going to, draft to. And I get it. But a lot of headlines come up, and I think to myself, okay, someone has come up with this just to create clickbait, just to create viewers or watchers. And I get it. I mean, when I go on YouTube or I put these on, we try to put a compelling title on that, make you guys tune in and end up watching the broadcast. So you'll see that I have this headline that simply says, tampering. Is in fact the Kirk Cousins deal going to cost the Falcons more than they bargained for? And what I mean by that, so the kind of hot take right now coming from the media is the fact that Mike Florio, some guys love him, some guys hate him, but he came up with an idea to kind of, I think, stir the pot. He's asking the question, will the NFL, in fact, fine the Falcons for tampering with Kirk Cousins? I mean, is this a fact? Was Kirk Cousins tampered with? Because Kirk kind of came out and indicated that he spoke with people with the Falcons trainer. Also, we know for a fact that he spoke with Kyle Pitts. And so the question is, all right, speaking of Kyle Pitts, since he's not technically a representative from the Falcons executive team, would that count if he spoke to Kirk Cousins trying to recruit him to come to Atlanta? And number two, did in fact Kirk speak with anyone else within the organization in terms of the executive staff, in terms of training, anybody at all from the Falcons before the appointed time? Because if so, in fact, that's considered tampering. And the question is that Florio and others are bringing up, if in fact the Falcons were caught with tampering, what would be their fine? And could it include the Falcons potentially having to either give up a draft pick or, worse yet, swapping out their first round pick with the Vikings first round pick, which would move the Falcons back from 8 to 11. And so now, consequently, that put them in a position where they might lose an opportunity to get a premier pass rusher, such as, you know who, the linebacker out of of Alabama. So now the question is, could they possibly lose out on getting a Dallas Turner? Could they lose out possibly on getting one of the other top three edge rushers they talk about, like Latu or Verse from Florida State, which I think all three of these guys would probably be available after the top 10. But the question is now, will the Falcons find themselves in trouble thinking that, oh, snap, that they now have to give up, a draft pick or draft pick position because, in fact, they tampered with Kirk Cousins. Now, and you think about this. If that's the case, what a disaster that would be for the Falcons, who technically, if you think about it, overpaid for Kirk Cousins. There's no doubt in my mind, giving this guy $100 million for 2 years is an overpayment, unless, in fact, you have a situation where they win the Super Bowl. Then it really doesn't matter. Let's go back to social media. Our man Sully says this. He says, if the NFL found any tampering, they would have already made us lose a draft pick or moved us back already. Well, Sully, that may or may not be true. If you're what Florio pointed out was the Cardinals and the Eagles faced with this situation last year, and the NFL waited until right before the draft to kind of make the announcement, oh, by the way, boys, this is your penalty. And all that stuff is, again, according to Mike Florio, who, like I said, again, this is the guy that likes to stir the pot. That's what the media does. I get it. So what do you guys think? If, in fact, the Falcons would have to come up with any other compensation for tampering, first of all, what does that make you feel about the Falcons executive team, allowing something like this to happen? You're already spending a gazillion amount of dollars for a quarterback that, as much as, and I don't want to be a bad guy here, okay? I'm not going to, get into the situation like Cam Newton saying, hey, not only did the guy overpay him, but talking about that he's coming off the Achilles. That, to me, is the biggest key. You got a guy that's coming off an Achilles injury. You got a guy that's 35 years old. And now you run the situation where you might get hit with a tampering charge. What do you guys think about that? If, in fact, the Falcons do get hit with tampering, if, in fact, they do have to lose a draft pick, is it a situation where they've now really, kind of paid a little bit too much for Mr. Kirk Cousins? I like Kirk. Nice guy. Good Christian brother. I think that actually he's going to be a minister after all this is said and done, because I happened to have a chance to hear him at the Super Bowl breakfast last year when he won Man of the Year. And this is a guy who is really on fire for the Lord, which I'm excited about that. But doesn't take away from the fact that he fleeced the Falcons for a lot of money. He didn't fleece them. The Falcons paid him. All right, let's go back to social media. Sully says this, but, with any big signing like Kirk Cousins, would have been set when we signed him. Well, that's true. I get it. The tampering. Here's the thing about tampering. This whole thing about tampering is much ado about nothing. I mean, at the end of the day, this kind of thing goes on all the time. Matter of fact, even if you look at it, the other thing that was brought out in this article by Florio is he talked about the fact that, Cousins was involved in recruiting Darnell Mooney to come over and sign with the Falcons as well, which is another. All I can say, guys, is this. And again, I'm hoping the Falcons have a great season. I'm hoping they do what they should do based on what they have on paper. If, in fact, you can get at least 80 to 90% of what Kirk Cousins has been over the last couple of years, with the current offensive structure they have, the Falcons should be a team that should win the NFC South. They should win that first home playoff game, and then they should be a threat to win that next game to get them to the NFC Championship. Now, you're saying, Simmons, Rev, are you crazy? No, I'm not. Because if you spent all this money and you loaded up with all these offensive players to kind of fit this explosive offense, you got a coach that's coming in that's from the Shanahan tree, Sean McVay tree, which is known to be very, very innovative, offensively speaking, then why shouldn't I expect that? Because at the end of the day, you had a terrible quarterback play in the last 2 or 3 years, and the Falcons were just 1 or 2 wins away from winning the NFC South with that. So my expectation is not to just say, oh, well, I'm going to win the NFC South and that's it. I'm looking for this team to make a run into postseason and be a threat. That's right, a real threat to get to the Super Bowl. Or else you wasted your money. You could have just said, I'm not going to give Kirk Cousins $100 million. I'm going to go into the draft and try to get a draft pick. Am I right? I mean, if you're not thinking, if the bar is not set higher than just, oh, we want to get to the playoffs, then something's wrong with the management team at the Falcons. Because at the end of the day, to spend that kind of money on Cousins, to spend a lot of money on this guy Donald Mooney, who no one's heard of this guy. Okay, nobody. He had one good season. Seriously, one good season a couple of years ago. And the Falcons turned around and gave this guy all this money, which has hampered them in terms of their ability to possibly get an edge rusher or, possibly to get some other players that could factor in, even in terms of signing a big-time draft pick. So, yes, the expectations are very, very high. This idea of, like I said, just getting the postseason is not enough. All right, let's go to social media here. Let's take a peek here. John Robert has joined us here for the first time. He says, how many draft picks do they currently have? John, I believe that the total is 5 picks, I think, and don't quote me on this because I'm not an NFL draft expert. I normally leave that to my good buddy, D. Orlando Ledbetter, who comes on to join us, but I think they have 5 picks, maybe even 6. I know they have, obviously, the first-round pick. I believe they have 2 in the second round, 4th-round pick, and I believe a 5th-round pick. So I think they have 6 overall. But, John, don't quote me on that, please. All right, one more for John. He says, I think that besides defense, they could use another wide receiver. No doubt. And see, this is my point. I get you bringing this guy who, like I said, no one's heard of him. He did have a 1,000-yard season a couple of years ago. But see, here's the thing. This, to me, if you look at it, I just want to make sure this is based on real analysis and not just a situation where you're somebody you're comfortable with. Because let's think about this. Ryan Poole came from the Bears. He knows him from the Bears. And so I don't want you bringing a guy just because you know a guy or you draft him and you're trying to prove the point that you made a good draft pick. I want to make sure he's the best available guy. Back to social media, our man Sully. Sully says this. He said, no, I wouldn't win after a quarterback starting from the draft pick or past 3 years. I would have went after a quarterback who's played in the league for a couple of years or free agency. No, I get what you're saying. I mean, at the end of the day, this is Arthur Blank's point. He's like, hey, I get it. I mean, now that I'm a senior citizen, you thinking to yourself, hey, man, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. I mean, not to be, pessimistic about your life or to be morbid, but we're all on the clock. And Arthur Blank is thinking, hey, I've had a cancer scare. I'm in my 80s. I want to win while I can enjoy the win. So I get it. So definitely there's no question in my mind. You do want to get a seasoned quarterback to lead this team, which, again, offensively looks like it's ready to go. And I don't want to take a shot at the defense because the defense did play very well as a top 10 defense last year. I do think that the defense missed some opportunities maybe to win some games. Maybe they got gassed late because of bad offensive play. We're not sure. We'll find that out this year. But you would think, again, if you're looking at things like Arthur Blank, I got a potentially top-tier offense. When I say top-tier, top 5 offense. I got, at the worst, a top 15 defense. Well, that combination should get me a Super Bowl or get me to the Super Bowl because if you look at teams before, that's kind of the scenario. If your defense can be somewhere in the top 10 to 15 and your offense is up in that top 5, just like the Falcons were when they last went. So I get it. So hopefully that's the case. But if, in fact, the Falcons find any type of way for this tampering thing, this Kirk Cousins deal has got to has got to get them into at least the NFC Championship game. But, like I say again, I'd like to see him in the Super Bowl. And I know you're thinking, Rev, after 1 year, spend $100 million. So, not just playoffs. I need an NFC South title. I need a playoff appearance, and I need at least 1 win at home. And I'm not just saying this because I cover the Falcons. Last year, I made an investment. I'm now a season ticket holder. So I want to get some return on my investment. Speaking of return on investment, we want to give a shout out to those people who help us here stay on the air. So we're going to take a break, but we'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show here on the legendary WIGO Pacer 1570 and on social media outlets near you. We'll be right back.
Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Well, check out Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We have one of the largest inventories in our area for both new and pre-owned vehicles, so we're sure to have something for everyone. Family owned and operated since 1982, customer satisfaction is our number one priority. Come see our full lineup of vehicles and find the one that best fits you. Give us a call today, 678-726-5739, or shop us 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net.
Coming up next, it's the Real Talk Sports Show, bringing you great sports talk with perspective. Now, here's our host, Jonathan Simmons.
Hey, we're back here, and we thank all those of you who are watching or listening to us, first of all, on the legendary WIGO Pace Setter 1570 AM on the dial. Also, a big shout out to those of you who are watching us on TV, on the big screen. Sorry for the cloudy screen here, but we are broadcasting from my office here at Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln, who, as you saw, is our title sponsor for high school football and many of the things we do here. And Mr. Vigil is kind enough to let me do this broadcast while I'm working. So a big shout out to him and all the crew here. And speaking of that, before I get away here, remember, if you need a vehicle for yourself, give me a call. Hit me up. I am, in fact, a commercial account manager here, but I am able to sell cars to individuals. So please give me a call. 678-410-9833 is my cell phone number. You can shoot me up a text as well. If you like, you can go ahead and send me an email to my sports show email, which is jsimmons@realtalksports.net. And like I say again, we'll be more than happy to assist you with a vehicle for yourself, even for your business, because like I said, that is my main. That's my main job, is to assist people with their small businesses. If you need a vehicle, register in your business name, hit me up. Again, 678-410-9833. And the minister will give you a good deal and treat you right. That's the other thing. I don't know about you, but car buying experience can be a little overwhelming. You come in, you're thinking, hey, am I going to get got? Can I trust the people? Well, who better than you got? Yours truly to help you out and get you situated as you take care of your transportation needs. So again, hit me up, 678-410-9833, and I'll be more than happy to assist you with your automobile needs. All right, just getting wrapped up here with the Falcons. Like I said again, guys, I'm looking for something big for the Falcons. I'm looking for something big, 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 big. I need great things to happen with them. I think that they're in a position that they were right before they went to Super Bowl back in 2016. They have the draft capital, and they have, hopefully, in Kirk Cousins, a seasoned, polished veteran quarterback, and hopefully Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algiers. They have the 1-2 punch that the Falcons had back then when they had Devonta Freeman and when they had Kevin Coleman in there. That same type of 1-2 punch. You have the potential wide receiver core with the versatility that the Falcons had back then, because remember they had the all-world Julio Jones. I don't know, really, there's nobody that matched up really to him. They had an outstanding number 2 in Mohamed Sanu. They had to take it off the top guy with Turbo. So this team is constructed very much like the Falcons team that went to Super Bowl back in 2017. And they have a serviceable defense with some key players. Grady Jarrett is back. He should be back, recovering from an injury, back in full strength. I've seen him on social media. The guy looks cut, ready to go. You have Jesse Bates III at the safety position. And, of course, you have A.J. Terrell at cornerback. Terrell, time to time, his play is all-star worthy. Jesse Bates, the guy could have been the defensive MVP last year. He was just incredible as a game changer. So they have all the pieces in place that, like I said, again, they should be able to make a Super Bowl run, not just, get to the playoffs. I goes back to social media one more time here. Sully says what I say. He said, I need a Super Bowl win. I need the championship. I'm tired of being just doing the playoff stuff like that. I need the whole show, the whole, you know what. Thank you, Chucky. Look, man, I mean, I'll tell you something. I had the great opportunity to cover the Falcons that year. We actually were fully credentialed. I had field access. I had locker room access. And I did the whole gamut. That's when I really was throwing my hat in the ring to try to really make a run at this, to go full-time doing sports broadcasting. And it was incredible. It was just an incredible year from the preseason on when Mr. Blank said, hey, he told them before the draft, I need to have 4 starters from this draft. And the Falcons got it. You know, they brought on guys like Deion Jones. They brought on guys like Devondre Campbell. All these guys were all instrumental. The year before bringing in Devonta Freeman, they built this team with great drafting. And then, to Dan Quinn's credit, we can say what we want about him, you know, screwing things up with him and Shanahan, but he was able to put together this defense that was pretty serviceable. And of course, Shanahan, you know what he did with the offense, it allowed Matt Ryan to be an MVP, Devonta Freeman to say he was the best running back in the league, which was not true. And he got a big check. Julio got a big check. And the Falcons went to the Super Bowl. And I got to tell you guys, that was the first time ever I had a chance to cover the events around the Super Bowl. And I will tell you that was actually a watershed mark for us in doing sports media. I look back to the fact that my mom had told me to stay involved with sports media. She said, dear, even though you're a minister, you don't know how you're going to reach people. You just stay with it. And then I found myself literally in the city of Houston, right there in the middle of it. And even being a part of the local TV coverage for Houston covering the Super Bowl, it was just incredible. So I want that same feeling again. I want to be able to go and say that, hey, I'm here covering the Falcons. I'm a hometown guy. And just see the guys that I had covered all year long at the ultimate game. Sorry, so I didn't mean to say anything bad at the end. It's all right. We're the FCC regulations. I don't be cussing on the air. All right. The other thing that has been phenomenal here, not phenomenal, but the other thing that is going on, of course, is the start of baseball season. And we are in full throttle. The first 2 weeks of MLB are in the books just about. And, of course, the Atlanta Braves are doing what they do and what they have been doing over the last half a dozen years or so. Really, for most of the last 30 years, they have put a premier team on the field again this year. And they have started off 8-4. They lost their first series to the Metropolitans. They actually got the break speed off them 16-4 in that closeout game. But they did what they always do. They took a trip down to Miami, one of my favorite cities, I might say. Got some sunshine and some recuperation as they went in and steamrolled the Miami Marlins last night, 8-1. Marcell Ozuna continues his hot streak. He hit home run number 6, had 2 hits and 3 RBIs as the Braves explode for 5 runs in the top of the 7th, end up winning the game 8-1 over the Marlins. Another good news for the Braves, Max Fried looked like Max Fried. Guy pitched 6 innings. He got 4 strikeouts, I believe, and he looked like himself. So if Max Fried is playing lights out baseball, you know that the Braves will be able to get deep in the postseason for sure. So look forward to watching the Braves this year. Hopefully they will get to the playoffs. Very much like most Braves fans, they have already been on record saying, hey, it is World Series or bust. Because you look at this team, they really should have won the World Series. Not won, but they should have at least went to the World Series last year. Team won 108 games. Now, here's the thing. I know you have to win. All the games count. You want to get yourself in a position in postseason where you have home field advantage for as much of the playoffs as you can. I understand that. But really for the Braves, they're going to have to find a way to, first of all, get by the nemesis, the Phillies, who they swept to open up the season. So I get that. Excuse me, I should say that they won that series. I understand that you want to win another Eastern Division crown, but at the end of the day, the Braves have to get to the World Series. They need to win it because this team is too good. And here's the thing in sports. You only have a window. You have a short window of usually about 5 years, if that, if you're lucky, to get to the ultimate prize, to win the championship, whatever your sport is. It's just, you know, I wish I could tell you it's bigger than that, but it's not. You got that window. we're looking at basketball at the Hawks. We thought the Hawks were in their window. Trae Young, believe it or not, now is going to be in his 7th year with the Hawks. And this team, after exciting us, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, they have now just continually slid back. And some of this, I believe, is bad management. You're trading away players that you probably should have traded away, and you're in a situation where you're not bringing the type of players that can get you to the next level. It's just really watching these teams are very disappointing here in Atlanta. But again, for the Braves, we need them to get back to the World Series and win it, because fortunately for the Braves, unlike the Falcons and the Hawks, they actually have won, not one, but 2 World Series, including one very recently, just in 2021. So we are excited about the Braves. We're hoping that they can get back and do what they need to do and to win this title. Like I said, again, they have all the pieces in place. You have the reigning MVP. You have the all-time season best home run leader, Matt Olson, 54 home runs. Okay, you had a team that led the league in scoring runs, led the league in home runs. You have a solid pitching staff with veterans all across the deck. So there's no reasons for the Braves not to not only get to the World Series, but really to be able to win it. And there's no disrespect to the Dodgers, no disrespect to the Yankees, who have come out blazing. They've won 10 of their first 13 games, 10-3, one of the best teams in the league. I get all that stuff. But the Braves are built to win championships, not win division titles, but championships. And if we don't see that, then we're all going to look back like many of us did in the 90s and say, what a waste. Because you remember those teams in the 90s? Braves went to the World Series 5 times, and they won total of 1, including an epic collapse against the Yankees, where they went into Yankee Stadium and destroyed the Yankees in 2 games. I think they averaged 10 runs a game in those first 2 games at Yankee Stadium, had a 2-0 lead, coming back to Atlanta, and then got unceremoniously swept, lost all 3 games in Atlanta, including a ridiculous game where they were up 6-3 late. I think it was in game 4, which had given 3 games to 1 lead, and of losing that game and losing the series 4-2. So again, don't want to take anything away from the Braves or their organization, but we need a World Series win. Okay. Tied to Eastern Division titles. I get you. It's fun baseball during the regular season. The Battery is one of the great places for sporting events in the world. You can bring your kids out there, even if you don't have tickets to the game. They have a grassy knoll with a big old 30-foot jumbotron, so you can go and enjoy the game. There's restaurants everywhere. So great place to watch a game, great place to bring your family. But at the end of the day, we need to see championships out of the city of Atlanta's sports teams. Before I go, though, speaking of that, I want to give a big shout out to a team that really nobody talks about because they play a sport that is not really widely popular here in the Atlanta metro area. But I want to give a big shout out to the Georgia Swarm, a team who, in fact, did win a championship. And I was there to see that myself. I saw that championship and covered it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to, as they have now reached the playoffs again, I'm going to actually repost some of the clips from that season, including pictures and photographs from the postseason championship party up in Sandy Springs. All right. Unbelievably, our time has gone away from us already because this is just a Saturday Sports Update. Appreciate all those of you who tune in to watch us here on various platforms. Definitely appreciate those of you who are on watch us on the replay, because that means you took time on your busy schedule to check us out after the fact. And of course, as we sign off on the legendary WIGO Pacesetter 1570, I tell everybody, keep it locked right there on 1570. It is a great station, and it will give you great music and great talk for the rest of the weekend. Until the next time we get back together again, guys, we say as we always do, God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, whichever may apply. So long and take care.